Part 1. Answer the question. How many numbers of American families have a television? 98% of American families have TVs. Describe the long and immediate TV violence and give the example. Immediate. A group of children beat and kick a dog that was shown exactly on TV. Wrong. An 18-year-old was shown to be more violent than those that watch less violent TV. Why does cartoons become a source of violence? Because cartoons have an average of 32 violence acts per hour. What is the result of the research from the TV violence? TV can cause violent acts. Part 1 notes. The average American child watches 3 to 4 hours of TV. Cartoons have the most violent acts. Children at the age of 12 will watch 100,000 violent acts. The two studies show that TV can in fact cause violence. 98% of American families have a TV. 52% of kids have a TV in their room. Children watch 3 to 4 hours a day. Cartoons have an average of 32 violent acts. By the time a child is 12, they will have seen 100,000 violent acts. The immediate effects is that a child watching cartoons will do the same thing in real life. The long-term effects is that they will be more violent. Hello everyone. Today I would like to continue our discussion about TV violence on children. TV has a huge impact on children. In the US, 98% of families have a TV, and 52% of children have a TV in their rooms. How much TV do they watch? Well, it's an average of 3 to 4 hours a day, or 1,500 hours a year. Compare that to school, which is about 900 hours. TV has a huge impact on children. Now, children shows that cartoons are much too violent. But is it true? Are these TV shows have a link to real life violence? We must look at the research to do so. Children's shows have more violent acts than an adult show. Cartoons have an average of 32 violent acts. That includes punching each other on the head or shooting them. So by counting all these violent acts, we estimate that by the time a child reaches 12, they have seen 100,000 violent acts on television. That's about 30 violent acts per day. This is to our second question. How do we assess the impact of TV violence on children? First, we take a look at the immediate effects. Group of children watch a dog getting kicked and hit on. Then they were brought to the room with the same doll, and guess what? Each of them kicked and hit the doll. So there's a link between what kids see and what they do. For the long-term effects, in 1960, researchers studied an 8-year-old in an American city. They studied whether the child acted violently at home or not. And then did this for 10 years, so when he's 18, they conclude that he has more violent acts than children that have not watched violent TV as much. Decide if the statement is true or false. The miller is very poor. The eldest son gets the milk from the miller. There are 3 things for a miller to give to his children. There are the mill, donkey, and cat. The youngest son has not eaten the cat and made some mittens out of his fur. Marcus of Carabas is the name of the cat's master. As to notes, the miller has 3 sons who inherit his mill, donkey, cat. The youngest thought to kill and eat that cat and make his fur to mittens. The youngest son bought him a bag and a pair of boots. The cat caught a rabbit and presented it to the king. Cat caught some partridges. Marcus of Carabas was taking a bath while the king sent some guards to draw him. The cat told the meadow mowers that the Lord Marcus of Carabas owns that meadow, or the king's guard would chop him up. The king said The cat said the same thing to the reapers of corn. The cat tricked the ogre into turning into a mouse. The king offered the star to Marcus Carabas. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had 3 sons. The years went by, and the miller died, leaving nothing but his mill, donkey, and a cat. The eldest took the mill, the second son rode off on a donkey, and the youngest son inherited the cat. Oh well, said the youngest son, I'll this cat and make some mince out of her. Then I'll have nothing left in the world and shall die of hunger. The cat was listening to Smash playing on this, but he pretended not to have heard anything. Instead, he put on a serious face and said, do not look so sad, master. Just give me a bag and a pair of boots, then I'll show you that you did not receive such a poor inheritance in me. The cat's master had often seen him play many cunning tricks to catch rats and mice, even when he used to hang by the heels or hiding himself in the green and pretend to be dead. Thinking this over, he thought that it wasn't possible that the cat could help him after all. So he gave the cat his bag and spent his last pennies on ordering a fine pair of boots to be made especially for the cat. The cat looked very gallant in his boots, and putting his bag around his neck, he held the strings of it in his 2 forepaws and lay by Rabbit Warren, which was home to great mountain rabbits. He put bran and corn into his bag, and stretching as if he were dead, waiting for some young rabbits, still not acquainted with the disease of the world, to come and rummage in his bag for the bran and corn. Not long after he lay down, not long after he lay down, he had what he wanted. A rash and foolish young rabbit jumped into his bag, and Monster Puss immediately drew close to the strings and caught him. Proud as prey, he went away to the palace and asked to speak with his majesty. He was shown upstairs into the king's apartment, making a low bow, said to him, I have brought you, sir, a rabbit of the Warren, which my noble lord, the Marquis of Carabas, has commanded me to present to your majesty for him. Tell them, master, said the king. I thank him, and that he does me a great deal of pleasure. Another time he went and hid among a cornfield, holding still his back open, and when a brace of partridges ran into it, he drew the strings and so caught them both. He went and made a present to the king, as he had some before of the rabbit. The king, in like manner, received the partridges and ordered him some money for a drink. In this way, the cat continued 3 months to bring presents to the king, always saying that they were from his master, the Marquis of Carabas. One day in particular, here at the palace that the king was planning to drive the carriage along the river bank, taking him with his daughter, the most beautiful princess in the world. Puss in Boots said to his master, if you will follow my advice, your fortune is made. You have nothing else to do but go and wash yourself in the river, in the place that I shall show you, and not rest in me. The mayor's son did what the cat said, advancing to him. While he was washing, the king passed by, and the cat began to cry out, help, help, my lord, Marcus Carabas is going to be drowned. This noise, the king put his head out of the coach window. Finding it was the cat who had so often brought him a sweet game, commanded his guards to run immediately to the assistance of his lordship, the Marquis of Carabas. While they were driving the poor Marquis of the river, the cat came into the coach and told the king that his master was washing. There came by smoke sweat off his clothes, though he had cried out, thieves, thieves, several times, as long as he could. The kind cat had hidden the clothes under a great stone. The king immediately commanded the officer of his wardrobe to run and fetch one of his best suits for the Lord Marquis of Carabas. The king was very pleased to meet the Marcus Carabas, and the fine clothes he had given suited him extremely well. For although poor, he was handsome and well built fellow. The king started to secret inclination to him, and the Marquis of Carabas soon and the Marquis of Carabas had no sooner cast 2 or 3 respectful and somewhat tender glances, but she fell in love with him to distraction. The king invited him in the coach and ride along with them, and then with the love guards in building uniform trotting alongside. The cat, quite overjoyed at his project, began to succeed much on before, and meeting with some countrymen who were mowing a meadow, he said to them, "Good people, you are mine. If you do not tell the king that the meadow you mow belongs to my lord Marcus Carbas, the soldiers chop you up like herds or pot." The king did not fail asking of the Moors to whom the meadow they were belonged to. "To my lord Marcus Carbas," answered they all together, for cat's threats had made them terribly afraid. "Caesar," said the Marcus, "this is the matter which ye fails to yield a plentiful harvest every year." The master cat, who and still long before met some reapers, and said to them, "Good people, you who are reaping, if you do not tell the king that all corn belongs to the Marcus of Carabas, you shall be chopped up like a herb pot." The king, who passed by a moment after, uh, the king who passed by a moment after wished to know to whom all the corn which then he saw it did belong. "To my lord Marcus of Carabas," replied the reapers, and the king was very well pleased with it, as well as the Marcus, whom he congratulated. And the king said, let's go now to your castle." The miller's son, not knowing what to reply, looked at Puss, who said, "If your majesty will wait If your majesty will wait an hour, I will go and order the castle to meet ready for you." With that, she jumped away and went to the castle of great ogre and asked to see him, saying he could not pass so near his home without having the honor of being reception. The ogre received him as civilly as possible and made him sit down. "I have been assured," said the cat, "that you have the gift of being able to uh, ch- change yourself into all sorts of creatures as you wish. You can, for example, transform yourself into a lion or an elephant and like that is true," I said ogre friendly. "But to king wish you shall see me now become a lion." Puss was so terrified at sight of a lion so near him that he immediately climbed up the curtains, with difficulty because his boots are no use to him for climbing. A little while after, when Puss saw the ogre had resumed his natural form, he came down and admitted he had very much run. However, he said, "I fear that you will not be able to save yourself, even in the form of a lion, for the king is coming with his army and means to destroy you." The ogre looked out of the window and saw the king waiting outside and said, "What shall I do? How shall I shield myself?" Puss replied, "If you can also change yourself into something very small, you can hide." In an instant, the ogre changed himself to the mouse and began to run about for Puss no sooner saw this, but he fell upon him and ate him up. Puss, who heard the noise of his majesty's coach running over the drawbridge, ran out and said to King, "Majesty is welcome to the castle of my lord Marcus of Carabas." "What, my lord Marcus?" cried the king. "Does this castle also belong to you?" "There can be nothing finer than this court, and all the stately buildings are surrounded. Let us get into it, if you please." The Marquis gave his hand to the princess, and followed the king. Went first. They passed into a spacious hall, where they found a magnificent round pouch which the ogre had prepared for his sons who were that very day to visit him. However, dared not to enter, knowing that the king was there. His Majesty was perfectly charmed with the good qualities of my Lord Marquis of Carabas, as was his daughter, who had fallen violently in love with him, and seeing the vast estate he possessed, said to him, after having drunk 5 or 6 glasses, "If you do not, my Lord Marquis, become my son-in-law, it will be of your own choosing." Marcus, making several low bows, accepted the honor which his Majesty conferred upon him, and forthwith, but that very same day, married the princess, who became a great lord and never ran away from my except for pleasure. It was some time ago, a gentleman very rich. He had a fine town and country houses. His dishes and plate were all gold and or silver. His rooms were hung with damask. His chairs and sofas were covered with pieces of silk. But it had happened that the gentleman had a blue beard, uh, which made him so frightful and ugly that none of the ladies in the parties where he lived would venture out to go into his company. Now there was a certain lady of rank who lived very near him and had 2 daughters, both of them of great beauty. But about a month after the marriage had taken place, Bluebeard told his wife he should be forced to leave her for a few weeks, as had some fairs to attend in the country. He decided, he decided herself to indulge in many kinds of pleasure, as many of her friends as she liked, to treat them also with all sorts of dainties. "Here," said he, "are the 2 keys of the large wardrobes. This is the great box and contains a plate which you used for company, as it belongs to my strong box where I keep my money, and this belongs to the casket in which are all my jewels. Here also is my key to all the rooms in the house, but the small key belongs to the closet at the long area on the ground. I give you." And when she reached the door of the closet, she stopped a few moments to think of the order her husband had given her, and how he had told her that if he would fail his word and punish her severely if she did not obey him. But she was very curious to see what was inside. Put the key into the lock, and the doors straight flew open. As the window shutters were closed, she at first could see nothing. But in a short time, she saw the floors covered with cloth, but on which the bodies of that woman were lying. These were all the wives whom Bluebeard had married, killed one after another. At the sight, she was ready to sink with fear, and the key on the closet door, which she held in her hand. Next morning, he asked her for the keys. She gave to him, but as she could not help showing her fright, Bluebeard easily guessed what had been the matter. "How is it?" said he. "The key of the closet upon the ground is not here." "Is it not?" said the wife. "Then I must have left it on my dressing table." "Be sure you give it to me and by," replied the Bluebeard. After a good many times backwards and forwards, as if she was looking for the key, she was at last forced to give it to Bluebeard. He looked hard at it and then said, "How came that spot upon the key?" "I am sure I do not know," replied the poor lady. At the same time, I saw the sheet. "You do not know." "But I know well enough. You have been in the closet on the ground floor." "Very well, madam. Since you are so highly fond of the closet, you should be sure to take your place among the ladies you saw there." "Alas, if I must die, give me at least a little time to say my prayers." "I give you." In the meanwhile, in the meanwhile, Bluebeard, with a great scimitar in his hand, bawled as loud as he could to his wife, "Come down at once, or I will fetch you." "One moment longer, I beseech you," replied she, and again called softly to her sister. "Sister Anne, you see anyone coming?" To which she answered, "I see nothing but a sun." She makes a dust and the grass will shoot green. Bluebeard now again bawled out. Come down, I say, destroy one, or I shall come to fetch you. I am coming. Indeed, I will come in 1 minute, sobbed his wretched wife. Then she once out cried more. Annie, Sister Anne, you see no one coming. I see, said a cough thus a little laugh. You think is it my brothers? Said the wife. Alas, no, dear sister. It is only a flock of sheep. Will you come down, madam? Said Bluebeard in greatest rage. Only once the moment more, said she. And then she called out one last time. Sister Anne, you see no one coming. I see, replied her sister. 2 men on horseback coming, but they're still great way off. Thank God, cried she. They are my brothers. Begging them to make haste. Bluebeard cried so loud for her to calm down that his voice shook the whole house. The poor lady with her hair loose and all tears now came down and fell on her knees, begging him to spare her life. But he stopped her, saying, all of this is of no use, for he shall die. And then seizing her by the hair, raised his scimitar to strike off her head. The poor woman now begged a single moment to say one prayer. No, no, I will give you no more time. You have had too much already. Again he raised his arm. Just at this instant, a loud knocking was heard at the gates, which made Bluebeard for a moment see who it was. The gates now flew open. Two officers dressed in their uniform came in with their swords in hand and straight to Bluebeard, who, seeing they were with his wife's brothers, tried to escape their presence, but they pursued and seized him before he had gone 20 steps, and plunging their swords into his body and fell down dead at their feet. The poor wife, who was almost as dead as her husband, was not able at first to rise and embrace her brothers, but she soon came to herself, and as Bluebeard had no heirs, he found himself the owner of his great riches. She gave part of his vast fortune as a marriage dowry to her sister Anne. Soon after became the wife of a young nobleman who had loved her. Some of the money she laid out in buying captain's commission for two brothers, and the rest she gave to a worthy gentleman whom she married shortly after, and whose kind treatment soon made her forget about Bluebeard's cruelty.